me, when I hear that people have not cried in years and they just don't cry, I'm like, that's why you act the way you act. That's why you act the way you act. Hey guys, oh my gosh, you guys know who it is, your girl Charlie Rose. Hey, and what is this? The Rose Knows. Hey y'all, I'm really happy that you're here. I'm happy that you pressed on this video. I hope you guys are getting all the good energy and the good vibes that I'm feeling right now, okay? I'm currently a week post my wisdom tooth surgery. I did a whole vlog on that. Y'all can go watch that video. It was treacherous, it was torture, okay? But your girl's back, okay? I'm feeling like me. I'm feeling super cutesy today, and I cannot wait to talk about the topic of this video. Today, we are talking about the importance of crying. The importance of crying. And when I mean crying, I mean baby bull. That's what I'm talking about, okay? I'm talking about baby boy crying. That crying that you don't stop yourself from allowing to release, okay? There's a couple different events that got me to wanting to talk about the topic of this video. One, I've been a crier my entire life, okay? And I've always been told that I was always the crier of the century when I was a child. I would just cry about any little tiny thing. If I wasn't around people that I liked, crying. If I didn't get what I wanted, crying. If the wind blew weirdly on my skin, crying, okay? And I actually started reading this book, and it's called Trading in the Zone. I picked it up right before Thanksgiving because I needed some new insightful books. And if you guys don't know, I'm currently in my journey of day trading, and I felt like this book was going to be a crazy staple in helping me with constructing the mindset that I needed for trading, because at the top it says master the market with confidence, discipline, and a winning attitude. And if you know me, I always have a winning attitude, but when it comes to trading, it's a whole nother different psychological process that you have to go through. So me picking up this book, I was just wanting to understand, like, how is trading a psychological thing and not necessarily always a technical analysis thing or being able to read the charts, because the number one problem that I was finding myself in was not being able to effectively think in the right tone to be a profitable and disciplined trader. So when I was reading this book, chapter 2 was talking about denied impulses as children that we experience. These phrases can be anywhere from, no, you can't do that, because I said so. I'm gonna open it up for you. Not now, let me think about it, I'll let you know, it can't be done. And it was talking about how these denied impulses that we are fed as a child does not work well when we are looking to trade, because it's not coming from a place of abundance. It's not coming from a place of, I can do this, I can have everything. It's coming from a place of lack, and no, you cannot have that, no, you cannot do that is the exact opposite mental construct that you need in order to trade. If you guys know me, on my birthday, it is the day that I baby ball cry from the moment I open my eyes to the moment I close my eyes. And I have never been able to understand what the true feeling of my crying was coming from. Not only was I born 2 months early and I beat all of the odds that the doctors had put on me, I feel like my birthday is just always just a beautiful rebrand, and I always thought that's why I was crying. It was because I was just grateful to be alive, and that energy that I felt was just so overflowing that all I could do was just cry or laugh. And it got to a point where my mom would ask me, like, why are you crying? Why are you crying? Because usually crying is coming from an emotion. And I learned reading this book, Don't Believe Everything That You Think, that thinking is the root cause to all suffering. So when you're experiencing an emotion, it's because that you're thinking about a previous event or something to trigger an emotion, such as happiness, sadness, overwhelmed, like any of those emotions can trigger you to cry. But in my case, I wasn't having that problem. I wasn't having the problem of I'm thinking about this situation and I'm crying because of this. I was crying strictly off of an energy release. That's the only way that I could explain it. And people couldn't understand, because even if I get into a confrontational moment with someone, my first thing to do is to cry, because confrontation triggers me to my childhood, and it's hard for me to communicate in a confrontational state, so I cry, And it was getting a little awkward in a lot of these confrontational stages. Not that I'm in a whole bunch of confrontational stages, but if I'm ever in a confrontational situation and I start crying and they're like, "Why are you crying?" I literally could not express to them why I was crying, because it wasn't no root cause emotion to it other than being triggered or an energy release. So when I was reading this book on the plane, I got my answer. Okay, I got my answer to why I cry so much, and that it is okay to cry, and that honestly, stopping the natural flow of our cries is literally setting us back to being able to heal and grow through all of our experiences. So, I'm gonna read it to you guys right now. So this is in chapter 2 of Trading in the Zone. It's the lore and the dangers of trading. So like I was saying, in the beginning of this chapter, it was talking about denied impulses and how these denied impulses not being fulfilled as a child can heavily alter the way that we think and maneuver throughout our adult life. I'm about to read y'all this whole little passage that quite literally changed my entire brain chemistry and made me not feel so bad about my coping mechanism being crying. What happens to impulses that have been denied and unfulfilled? Do they just go away? They can if they are reconciled in some way. If we do something or someone else does something to put our mental environment back into balance. So, what can put our mental environment back into balance? There's a number of techniques. The most natural one, especially for a child, is simply to cry. Crying is the natural mechanism, nature's way for reconciling these denied, unfulfilled impulses. Scientific researchers have found tears to be composed of negatively charged ions, and if allowed to take its natural course, crying can expel the negatively charged energy in our minds and bring us back to a state of balance, even if the original impulse was never fulfilled. So the problem is that most of the time, events are not allowed to take their natural course. Y'all ever heard, "I'm gonna give you something to cry about if you don't stop crying"? Have you? And then this one right here too. There are many reasons why adults don't like their children to cry, especially boys, because they think that it shows weakness, or they think that if you cry that you're not as much of a man, when crying actually allows you to effectively maneuver through your traumatic experiences naturally. So literally by neglecting crying and neglecting feelings, you are quite literally holding yourself at that trigger point of the denied impulses that you had as a child. And then the last thing. So, what happens if these impulses aren't reconciled? What happens if you don't cry? What happens if you don't express your feelings and you don't effectively heal from your experiences in life? They accumulate and usually end up manifesting themselves into a number of addictive and compulsive behavior patterns. A very loose rule of thumb: whatever we believe we were deprived of as children can easily become addictions in adulthood. Huh? Did y'all hear the same thing that I just heard? Scientifically backed that when we cry, we naturally release negatively charged ions to naturally put ourselves back into a state of balance. So when I hear that people have not cried in years and they just don't cry, I'm like, that's why you act the way you act. That's why you act the way you act. Okay? That is why you act the way you act. Because you are full of a negatively charged energy that you're not allowing to take the natural course for you to naturally go back into a state of balance to move from a place of clarity. Oh my gosh. So for me, learning and understanding that crying is quite literally my coping mechanism, my natural coping mechanism, and crying allows me to return back to a state of balance so that I can effectively communicate with you. So I just need a moment. Like, that's exactly how I would express to somebody if I'm in a confrontational state and I'm just getting overly emotional and I'm just gonna be like, I need a second. Crying is my natural coping mechanism. It brings me back to a state of balance so I can effectively have this conversation with you. Just give me a moment. Let me go to the bathroom. Let me collect myself, Because even if you think about a baby and how babies can only cry when their diaper is wet, they can only cry when they're overstimulated, but that baby bawl cry that they have, once they are soothed and once they settle, they are back to a state of balance. They're able to chill. They're able to relax, be in the cut. You don't even realize the baby there no more, because it needed to cry. The baby needed to cry in order to release all of the negative energy that was pent up because this person kept twiddling with their dang thumbs and they're overstimulated. Now they have to just cry to release that overstimulated energy in order to return to a place of inner calmness. I feel like understanding that crying is the natural way to return back to your inner balance, your inner peace, a whole bunch of people will cry a whole lot more. You know what I mean? Rather than crashing out, rather than screaming, doing this, that, and the third, I'm going to go cry. That's what I'm going to go do. I'm going to go cry so I can get back into a state of balance and I can effectively think about this situation and I actually don't punch this person in the face. You know? So I titled this video, It's Okay to Cry, because crying is the way to get yourself back aligned with your own frequency, with your own mind. You think clearer rather than being so pent up and tight and No, cry. The scientists have said it, okay? Get those negatively charged ions out, I'm telling you. Because a lot of people are stuck up and they have a whole bunch of negative energy stuck up inside of them because they don't cry, they don't express their emotions, they don't allow themselves to feel the feelings. Just like the book said, denied impulses often turn into addictive and compulsive behavior patterns. That's why a lot of people are addicted to substances, and that's the first thing that they run to when something bad is happening in their lives, because they haven't effectively understood how to balance their denied impulses throughout their life. So when you become an adult and you have anger issues and you can't get along with nobody, it's because you're stuck up with all of the negative energy that you weren't allowed to express as a child. Not even just as a child, we're allowed to express as a whole throughout your life, and it's holding you back and not allowing you to step into the new version of yourself because you're pent up with all of these denied impulses that you don't allow yourself to feel and work through. I really wanted to come on here and say that because I'm a crier, okay? I cry all the time, and I always just found it to be such a beautiful energy release, and it allows us to come to a natural state of balance. I didn't know that. I didn't understand what that relief feeling was when I finished crying after 10, 20 minutes. I never understood it, but now that I have understood it, I want other people to know that crying is okay. Crying is necessary. A lot of the times when people are in their adulthood, they're looking to get back to that childhood likeness, that childhood pureness. And I feel like the purest way to get back to our childhood is to cry and allowing it to take its natural course. Not saying, oh, no, I can't cry. I can't see, I can't cry. I don't want her to see me like this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Nah. I would much rather see you cry as a man than see you not cry, because I know that you're pent up with all that negative emotion and all of the experiences that you experienced in life and never went through. I know. So I want you to cry. I want you to cry. If you're a man watching this, cry, okay? Like, crying can be so vulnerable for people, but crying can also be a way to transcend and a way to move forward. And vulnerability is the key in order to really transcend throughout this life. Feeling your feelings is the key in order to move forward and achieve your goals. When you're stuck in what your childhood did to you, and when you just keep that same negative mindset of the denied impulses that shaped you as a child, you're never going to be able to reach your goals effectively and communicate effectively in the rooms that you want to be in when you're older, because you are in a state of imbalance. Like, I genuinely feel like that's why there's anger issues and abusive relationships, lack of genuine communication, especially in our generation today, is because people are not allowing themselves to work through feelings and traumatic experiences effectively. People are so quick to go smoke, drink, go out to parties, just try to make the pain go away rather than feeling it. Because I feel like the only way to transcend forward is when you feel your emotions and you allow yourself to fully be seen through those negative emotions, because we all have those crazy experiences that happened as a child. We all have the conversations that we were never able to have. Like, we all have these pent up experiences that have shaped who we are today, but it doesn't mean that you have to stay pent up. It doesn't mean that you have to stay sad, that you have to stay imbalanced. Understanding and finding ways to naturally balance yourself and cope and accept those emotions that you're feeling. I feel like we would all just be so much freaking happier, bro, if we all just cried more. We would just be so much happier if we just cried more. If we just cried more and we just expressed ourselves and we allowed ourselves and gave ourselves space to just feel, I feel like the world would just be so much better. Because I feel like it's very true that you never know what anybody is going through. Like, you absolutely have no clue what anybody's going through. You don't know what I'm going through. I don't know what you're going through. But creating a space where people feel comfortable to be vulnerable and feel comfortable to express their emotions and their feelings is what this world really needs. Yeah. So this video was genuinely a reminder to feel your feelings, cry. Crying is the natural way to bring your mind back into a state of balance. When we cry, we naturally shed negative ions in our mind, so it allows us to naturally come back to a state of balance. Allow your children to cry. If you are a parent, allow your child to cry. Stop with that, I'll give you something to cry about. Because we are obviously crying already. So now you're going to make me cry more. And then you're going to then you want to put the belt to my booty. And then it's so deep. It runs so deep, guys. And that's exactly where the denied impulses start, are as children. So if you are a parent and you want to stop the cycle of emotional unavailability, not being able to be vulnerable, and like communication with your child, allow your child to naturally express themselves. Allow them to feel feelings. Teach them that feeling feelings is okay. Teach them that the only way to transcend forward is to feel. The only way to transcend forward is to work through the now and not always bottling things in. Let it go. Just teach them to let it go, please. Because mental health is a real thing. Mental health is a real thing, and I don't want anyone to ever feel like they're alone in a situation. So teach your children that it is okay to feel feelings and to express themselves and to be themselves and to be vulnerable. And feelings are badass, okay? Feelings are what make us human beings. So allowing our feelings to take their natural course, I think, will make life and the world a lot better. I genuinely do. But yeah, that's me. That's all I have to say for this video, guys. Literally, Merry Christmas. Like, hey, Christmas is coming up. New Year's is coming up. Make sure you guys tap into this book, Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas, the author of A Disciplined Trader. I haven't been able to get back into reading it since Thanksgiving because of my wisdom teeth surgery. That was just a whole week of just bed rest and just like, oh my gosh, what is even happening? So I'm getting back into my books now, but I just really wanted to come on here and talk about that. It was really, really deep to my heart that, like, allow yourself to just feel, bro. Allow yourself to feel. Allow yourself to feel. Allow yourself to feel. Give yourself permission, okay? Give yourself permission, especially going into this new year. Allow yourself to feel everything, okay? Everything. Life will be so much better, okay? But I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I'll see y'all next Sunday. Every Sunday I post a sit-down video, and every Wednesday I post a vlog. So make sure you guys stay tuned. And I just pray that you are just able to be the best version of yourself and that you learn more about yourself through watching my videos. And make sure you guys comment. I love to talk in the comments, okay? I love talking in the comments. Make sure you subscribe and all the things. You already know. Don't be a stranger, okay? I'll see you guys next week. Bye!